Well, who would have known that I'd be doing this first video on this brand new channel while we're on lockdown in a marina on a narrowboat. That's where we're at the moment, but we have got some lovely surroundings. We've got plenty of space to move around. We've got a lovely green here, we can have a drink. So sorry if that makes you a little bit jealous, but you know, that's where we are. But while you've got all this time on your hands, let's talk about mobile photography. Most of us have got a mobile phone, but most of us don't make the most of that absolute awesome piece of technology that we've got on our hands. So let's go down to the absolute basics and talk about, to start off with, how to hold your phone when you're taking a picture. I'd challenge you to go onto your photo roll on your camera, look back at the past 20 or 30 pictures and see how many are out of focus. You know what? Most of them were avoidable. It's just that we're all so quick in life that we just click, 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 click. Just hold your phone any way you like, click, 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 click. And that's why you've got some photos out of focus. Now, it's very simple. If you just take a moment to think before you start that your phone is no good out here, it's no good like this, you need to support it. So the first thing to do is bring the phone close to you, bring your elbows in, tuck them in, push them against yourself and put your feet about 1.5 feet wide, probably parallel to your shoulders. Okay, and you're squeezed in like this. That means you're steady and you won't become out of focus. You won't get camera shake. And then when you touch the screen gently, stop breathing. Seriously, take a breath in, shoot. And it really is as simple as that. If you do that, I guarantee you that you'll eliminate most of the photographs that are out of focus. Tip number 2. This little lovely phone here, this has got a touch screen. It's not a tap screen, it's a touch screen. And we see it so many times when people are taking a photograph, they've got the little round thing there to take a shutter, to hit their shutter, and they do this. Can you see what's happening to my phone? It's moving around, isn't it? And what do you think that does? This sounds very condescending, I'm really sorry, but you do that, you'll get pictures out of focus. So remember that it's a touch screen. If you just gently touch it when you press the shutter, you'll get no motion blur. It'll be absolutely perfect, I guarantee it. Tip number 3 is grid lines on your camera app. Now, I'm not sure how this works on Android phones, but I'm sure on most camera apps, you can just say, look, put my grid lines on, which are grids that go up, down, across and help you compose your shot. It's called rule of thirds in most cases. There are golden triangles or golden circles and all this sort of stuff, but we're not going to get into that. These rule of thirds are really important. How do you switch them on an iPhone? Because the camera app, the stock camera app, doesn't allow it. So you have to actually go into settings. So let's pop over onto the iPhone and have a look. In most apps on an iPhone, you can turn on the camera grid from the actual camera app, but on the stock camera app that most people have got, which is this one here, it doesn't turn on from there. You have to go into settings. So if we go into settings, and then we have to go all the way down, scroll down in settings to camera, and now we have grid here, on and off. Mine was on already because I always use it, so I've turned the grid on again and go back out. And once you go into your stock camera app, you will have your grid turned on. And why do we use the grid? I'll show you next. Now we're in the stock camera app on an iPhone, and you should be able to see the grid lines. And these are useful for helping you to compose your shot. So for instance, if I wanted to take a picture of this glass here, I could just do it in the centre, but it doesn't look great in the centre. So if you actually move it over to where one of the lines intersect with each other, that's a better composed shot. And of course, especially if you're in ×2 and wanted to get this little atmospheric shot with a empty gin glass with Hannah the narrowboat in the back, that's how we would do it. So use your grids, people, it helps. Tip number 4, and that's airplane mode. Now there's nothing worse when you're doing a photographic shoot or you're taking some video somewhere and you're all set up and it all looks lovely, and then all of a sudden you get a notification on your screen, puts you off your stride. So turn on airplane mode. I'm going to show you how to do that on the iPhone, not quite sure on the Android, but I'm pretty sure similar sort of thing. So let's pop back over onto the iPhone. Okay, turning on airplane mode is really simple on an iPhone. You can either just drag from the top corner and turn it on there. Obviously I'm going to turn it off again. And the other way to do it is to find your settings on your iPhone, press on it and it's the top one and it says airplane mode, you turn it on there. And once that's on, you won't get disturbed when you're taking your photographs or videoing. And it will be splendid, I say. We all love a selfie, don't we? But they're quite difficult to take when you've got a bigger phone. So this is a 10X Max or something like that. It's one of the bigger phones. And you have to kind of hold it in a contorted way to try and get a selfie. And it's very difficult to actually get the background in. You can quite often get it, you know, about here and press the shutter. But if you want it up here to show off the rest, it's actually quite difficult when it's facing you. So the best thing to do is use a self-timer. Tip number 6. This is portrait versus landscape. Now, with photography, of course, take a picture of a nice scene, you'll normally do it landscape. Take a picture of a person, you'll normally do it portrait. And of course, there's exceptions to those rules, but in general, that's how it works. Now, with video, when I see people doing this, I just shake my head. There's no place in modern society for vertical video. Seriously, turn your phone round, then press record, and you get a lovely video. Now, here's why it really irritates me, okay? Just imagine you're a grandparent. You've got a lovely grandchild and he's just started walking, and you're there videoing him taking his first steps like this, in portrait mode, okay? Oh, doesn't he look lovely? Oh, Agnes loves that on her phone. She can see that full screen on her phone. Okay, we get to his 18th birthday and we have that massive embarrassing party. We've got a big screen up there and we're showing all the video clips of when he was a kid. And there's your video with a little picture in the middle with 2 great big black stripes down each side. Just that way. Let's move on. Tip number 7. If you want to edit your videos, we need to talk about resolution and frame rate. Okay, the way I look at things, okay, this is your viewport, so this is your screen on your computer, and most people view everything in 1080. Now, if you shoot at 1080, that's fine, that will fit the screen lovely. Now, if you shoot in 4K, you've actually got this much more footage. And that means that you can zoom in on things, zoom out of things without losing any resolution. You can move things, pan things across, so it gives you a little bit of leeway. And it's the same with frame rate. If you shoot at 30 frames per second, then that's your normal. But if you shoot at 60 frames per second, then you can slow things down to half and get some lovely cinematic feeling footage. Now, I'm going to shove us over back onto the iPhone and show you how to change these settings. Again, Apple a bit ridiculous here, because if we're in the camera app, we can't actually change the resolution and the frame rate. We have to go into settings. So we go into settings, then we have to scroll all the way down to camera, go into there, and as you can see at the moment I'm set 4K at 60 frames per second. Now that's big file sizes, so if you haven't got much memory in your phone, that's going to fill up really quick with that. So my preferred one is 1080 at 60 frames per second. That gives me a decent frame rate, so I can halve it in speed. But when you're on 4K, obviously that gives you a higher resolution, so you can move things around in post-production. So it's a little bit of a trade-off, but that's how you do it. And that's why I don't really use the camera app in the phone. I use a program called Filmic Pro, which lets you do everything from within that app, so it makes it a lot easier. So don't always think that the stock camera app is the app you should be using. There's plenty of better apps out there. Tip number 8. This is the embarrassing one. This is called the ninja walk, and have a guess why you do this. If you're walking long videoing, forget photography for a moment, you're videoing, when you walk, you go up and down like this. So what's happening? Look at my phone. What's it doing? It's going up and down. So when people are watching it on screen afterwards, your footage is doing this, and it makes you feel sick. Now, if you do the ninja walk, it's a lot less. It's just little bits. So what is the ninja walk? Here's the embarrassing bit. Here's me doing the ninja walk. A couple of bits of footage shows you the difference. See what you think. Okay, with this one, I'm just going to do a normal walk with my phone, And I'm going to even make this even worse. I'm going to do it with one hand like most people do. So here we go with the video, the first video. That'll do. And now we're going to do it with a ninja walk. And yes, I'm going to look like a nutter. This time I am going to hold with both hands. So there is the ninja walk. We're getting near the end now. This is tip number 9. And this perhaps is the most important if you want to tell a story. Now, we all do our little video clips of children, all that sort of stuff, and they're just one-off things. They're not a story. They're just, oh, look at my child or look at my grandchild. But if you're doing a video of, say, let's say a party or something like this, you're trying to tell a story. So B-roll is perhaps the most important thing. Let's think of it this way. Imagine something like Countryfile. You have an interview with a farmer there in his field, but it rarely just goes straight to this, does it? It rarely cuts straight to someone having an interview. What they'll do is they'll show perhaps some aerial shots of their farm, maybe some shots of the crop, maybe his tractor, his plough and all that sort of stuff. And what they're doing is they're setting the scene and setting the environment so you understand the context of what they're saying or what they're trying to portray. So, with that in mind, we're in a lovely marina at the moment. So, if I'm talking about the marina, I will do a little bit of B-roll about the marina. Have a look at this and you'll see what I mean. We've made it. We're at tip number 10. And this is all about apps. This is all about looking the best that you can on social media. Because let's be honest, when we take a little selfie and that, got a little spot here and all that. Oh, that doesn't look very nice. We need to beautify ourselves. Stop. Don't use that beautify filter. You look like a blow-up doll. Honestly, I've seen so many pictures of my daughter and other people that I know and all this, with their faces looking so smooth, they look unnatural. So we're going to talk about making your pictures look the best that they can without going over the top and without using auto filters. Now, there's one piece of software that's available on both Android and iPhone that I will highly recommend, and it's called Snapseed. And you can take a photograph and say, let's say we just take one on the marina, which I will do presently. And then what we'll do, we'll go into Snapseed and I can say, look, within a minute, I can make that photograph look at least 50% better. Don't believe me? Let's try it and I'll show you that we can do it. We can, I say. Right, here we are in Snapseed, and this is an absolutely free, completely free app available for iOS and for Android, and it is brilliant. Now, as I promised, I can do this in under a minute to make this photograph look a lot better than it does now. Now, it looks okay, but it's not great. It's not popping out at me. So I'm going to go straight in. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a HDRscape. Just add the filter to about there. Go OK. The next one I'm going to go into Tune Image, and I'm going to go Adjust, and I'm going to bring the highlights down slightly. I'm going to add a little bit more saturation. Then I go OK on that one. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a vignette. OK. And then lastly, I'm going to add a lens blur to make just the boats in focus. So let's turn this there, add a bit more blur and go OK. Right, so that's what we've ended up with. This is what we had. This is what we have now. How long did that take me? And I was explaining things, remember, took 30-40 seconds. So you can do this too for free, so go and give it a try. I will do some tutorials on how to use Snapseed properly, And if you like this video, make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit the bell button, and the more likes and subscriptions I get, then the more videos I'll make. And we'll do a full tutorial in Snapseed, because it really is brilliant. Bye!